きてり込む手がぐらる閉じにはやらせんで手の利きの酒この尻時のこれてモレジティの魂で明日の君開けノクシェスワの襟だけ進め嘘ましめりもそれなり守りたい世界いや肯定で吠えてゆけ金がされも言わずつか燃える心は地も所な近いコントロールすげて回るような
In today's meeting we will talk about demons, had said the goddess of everything, Mirai, in a serious tone, looking at the 5 people seated in front of her. A silence fell for several minutes after hearing the topic of the meeting. The god members of the royal guard were stunned upon hearing that word they had not heard in centuries. Damn, said Diana in an annoyed tone as the image of Daishinkan crossed her mind. She also clenched her teeth and then hit the table, drawing the attention of the others. Capitana, whispered Ari in surprise at her attitude since she was the youngest goddess among the members of the royal guard, unlike the others, who did know the reason for the white-haired girl's displeasure. Cough asterisk, my lady, we haven't talked about demons since a long time ago, even when you were still ruling over the 17 central universes. So why now? Neen asked analytically while crossing his arms. 17 universes. Ari exclaimed mentally incredible. Could that be why I have never seen a demon? She wondered, still surprised. Everyone's gaze immediately turned to the goddess of everything, who seemed uneasy about the situation that could arise in the future. As you know, in the last great war the few remaining demons escaped to some place where even I cannot see them. But I can feel it. I don't know how, but my sister is slowly regaining power. I used a great part of my divine power to seal her in the realm of nothingness, whereas I am barely recovering. She said the last part with considerable annoyance. What? Mirai-sama, have you still not recovered the totality of your power? Exclaimed Camus with great surprise. Although he was not the only one, everyone else was equally surprised because if she hadn't said it, they wouldn't have realized it. My lady, are you implying that the demons will start another war? That if your sister recovers all her power you won't be able to stop it? Asked Uma nervously, as at that time she had felt the enormous power of that powerful demon. The 5 of them began to bombard the goddess of everything with questions due to the unease caused by her words. This made Mirai quite nervous. Silence, whisper. And quickly the questions stopped. Everyone fell silent. Uma called the goddess of everything. I'm not implying anything. I just want to warn you that if the demons find out about this event, and they surely will, they will start to move, and I want you to be prepared when that moment comes, okay? She said seriously, warning them. As you command, Mirai-sama, exclaimed the blonde-haired goddess respectfully, followed by the other gods, who understood the concern of the goddess of everything but still could not help feeling nervous. With this, I declare this meeting concluded. I just wanted to communicate that to you, my girls and boy, hee. She said the last part, giving a smile to Camus since he was the only male member. All the gods stood up, except one who was thinking, resting her elbows on the weight, and with both hands on her chin, with a serious expression. The gods began to leave little by little. The last to leave was Uma, who, before exiting through the door, directed her gaze to her best friend Diana. She whispered, looking at her worriedly, and then left. Elsewhere, our hero had arrived on the planet Sadala carrying his daughter, while Mio was carrying Gohan. And in front of them was Miku. The scion was excited. He began to feel various ki from different directions, and they varied in power. The place he was in was on the outskirts of a forest. A few meters ahead of them was the entrance to a city. "We made it! We are in Sadala," he explained joyfully with his hands together, as if he were a girl in a new place, then turned to see his companions. "And what do you think?" he asked curiously and happily. The goddess of destruction turned her gaze to the woman after looking around. "Not bad. I like that there is vegetation. On planet Vegeta there wasn't any," she replied without giving it too much importance. Then played with her son, making faces with her expression that made little Gohan laugh as much as he could. Planet Vegeta? Was that what the Scion's home was called? The pink-haired woman wondered, a little surprised, and then looked at the Scion. "And you, Mr. Goku? What do you think?" The Scion looked at her excitedly, and with a grin from ear to ear exclaimed, "I can feel the ki of many strong people, and that excites me so much. Hee, I see. So you like to fight," she replied, laughing embarrassedly at the dark-haired man's response. "Well, do you all want me to take you to the Scion King? I'm sure he will be quite cheered by the presence of a Scion from another universe." She asked them with doubt. "Scion King? Great!" exclaimed Goku, more excited. Wait, commented Mio, gaining the attention of both. "How is it that this so-called Scion King knows about the other universes?" she asked, raising an eyebrow, and in an authoritative tone. Mika gulped at the goddess's tone, since she felt intimidated by the way she said it. "SS Mistress Mio. Her mother gave that information to the races that contribute the most to the universe," she replied nervously. "Hi? I should have guessed. Alright. Let's go with the supposed king," said the white-haired girl with a bit of annoyance. Goku approached his girlfriend and placed his free hand on her shoulder. "Cheer up, Mio. It will be fun. Besides, it's been a while since I had a fight," he said, this pouting to the goddess. Mio's face immediately changed after the Scion tried to cheer her up. Without a doubt, he was her weakness. "Well, as long as there's pudding. By the way, you don't have a fight because you don't want to. I'm always willing to fight with you, but you never ask me," she said, looking away. "Please, Mr. Goku. Mrs. Mio, don't get like this. Let's go at once. I assure you that it will be fun," Mika commented, trying to encourage more than anything the goddess of her destruction, who apparently had been annoyed. "Jump! Yes, let's go once and for all, girl," he replied almost immediately without seeing Goku, and then set off towards the city that was close to where they were. The redhead was stunned by how she had been addressed. "Did she call me little girl? But she pretends to be younger than me," she whispered with a bit of annoyance. Suddenly Mio stopped dead, and turned to look at Mika with a piercing gaze. "Enough chit-chat. Remember that I am a goddess," she said authoritatively, and then continued walking. "Mrs. Mio scares me more than Mrs. Diana," thought the woman as she swallowed hard. "Calm down, Miku. It will pass," Goku told her as he passed by her to go to where his partner was, and give him a strong slap on the butt. Hey! What's wrong with you? That hurt," she explained to the Scion, with a huge blush since Mika was present, while with her free hand, she rubbed her left buttock where she had received the hit. It's just that you were upset. And if you get more upset, theoretically you should stop being upset, right?" he said while thinking with one hand on his chin. Mio sighed as she shook her head. "My love. Who told you it worked like that? So I go and erase it from existence?" I ask him, before a small giggle escapes him. "It was nobody. But since you were upset, I wanted to cheer you up by spanking you as you like. Did I do wrong?" he asked innocently. Immediately, Mio opened her eyes as wide as she could and quickly covered the Scion's mouth, glancing sideways at Miku, who had her face completely red. "I love it when you do that. But don't say it in front of other people, my love," she murmured, although she was dying of embarrassment since the redhead had heard. Then she removed her hand from her beloved's mouth. "It bothers me that you want to fight anyone who is strong but never with me," she said, a little discouraged. "Ha ha, because I still can't give you a decent fight. That's why I push myself to the limit in training so that one day I can force you to use all your power," he replied almost immediately. Mio rolled her eyes. "Yeah, right. You know I can get to your level like the first time." Then she opened her eyes. "The first time we fought, ahem. She corrected herself quickly. Goku smiled and then looked at the sky at that moment. He did not know the abysmal difference between us. Now that I know that if we fight, I know I lost from the first second of the battle, he replied, while lowering his gaze to look her directly in the eyes. Good. I understand now. I guess for the meantime, I'll have to settle for the special training. Which, by the way, ahem, we have gone a long time without training, ahem, he said to her, with a small smile, and blushing at the same time. Miku at that moment felt that she was unnecessary. She heard some interesting things, but even so, she gathered all the courage she could and approached the couple very well. Enough chatter. Let's proceed, she said in an authoritative tone, and entered the city. Ha ha ha. She was probably already getting tired of standing. Poor thing. Come on. Let's go with her, darling, he said, taking his beloved's free hand, which he almost immediately held in return. Myo. When we return to our universe, we will train until we surpass our limits. What do you think? He said to her while walking beside her. The goddess blushed a little, but being her boyfriend, she doubted a little whether he really wanted to train with her, or train. Yes, my love. That sounds perfect. But don't forget, she replied with a small smile. Palace of Mirai-sama. Diana, is something wrong? Asked the goddess of everything after the others had left, and she had stayed. The white-haired girl directed her gaze at him, without changing the position she was in. Why didn't you tell me? I never wanted this position, this power, but you insisted so much that I did it, and we swore to tell each other everything. Why? She asked, quite annoyed. Mirai, at what Diana had said, slowly got up from her seat, and went to sit in front of her. Because I know what you will do. Or do you think I didn't see how you treated Daishinkan some time ago? She answered seriously. He is a demon, and must die. Or rather, I will kill him myself. Slowly and painfully, so that he would feel the pain of all the people he took their lives from, he told her, with a lot of hatred that it was even noticeable in his eyes. Diana, Mirai exclaimed, banging on the table, you must forget the past and focus on the now and the future, please. The light blue-eyed one stood up and headed toward the door. But before leaving, she looked at the goddess of everything without any emotion. I will never forget what you did. Anyway, you have lied to the others again. Because you don't have a brother, that first demon, she said while opening the door, is your other half, she told her hurtfully, and then left. Upon hearing this, Mirai couldn't help but let tears fall down her cheeks. Without a doubt, those words had hurt her a lot, not only because they were true but also because it was Diana herself who said it to someone she considers her right-hand successor, and the daughter she never had. Diana, the reason I lied to you is so you don't worry. That's why I had to tell you that I am slowly recovering my power, when in reality, thought Mirai, downcast and very sad. As they headed towards the castle of the King of the Silence, the three of them were observing the civilization of the warrior race. Although Mika did not pay much attention since she had been to this place several times, while Mio looked with curiosity at the similarities with the Silence who lived in her universe, and Goku, well, he was very excited, as he could feel several levels of quite high power. Upon reaching the door of the Scion King's castle, they encountered two guards who had high fighting power, but upon seeing the pink-haired woman, both were surprised by her visit. Mika-sama, one of them asked with a clear stutter. Are you perhaps coming to see King Dreizel? His companion explained while directing his gaze, as if he were superior to her attendants. Cough, I recommend that you don't make this girl angry if you want to stay alive, Mika recommended to this last guard, who was looking firmly at Mio, and she was getting upset. Let's continue, guys, he explained, without further ado, passing between the guards followed by the couple. Hee. Sure, Mika-sama was joking, right? He asked his partner, with a little nervousness. The other guard was serious, watching the couple. With the help of his tracker, he could see that Goku's fighting power was 5, while with Mio nothing appeared. What surprised them was that the children had a power of 10,000 and 15,000. I think this thing is broken, he commented, taking off the tracker to give it a few hits. Already inside the palace, the three visitors were guided to a living room, where the Saiyajin King Dryzel was waiting for them, after being informed by the guards through the tracker. Time has passed. Mikasama, he greeted the pink-haired girl before settling into a kind of throne, and directing his gaze to her companions. And tell me, why have you brought scum to my palace? He asked with a superior smile after seeing their fighting power. Upon the silent's words, Miku immediately opened her eyes in surprise, and looked at Mio, who drew a small smile on her face. Yes, you say scum? Commented the fair-haired girl while raising her arm in the direction of the silent king. Before creation comes destruction, she was saying as a purple aura surrounded her, and a sphere of the same color as her aura formed in the palm of her hand. Wait! Exclaimed Goku, putting a hand on her shoulder. Don't get upset over scum like him. I'll take care of it myself. Darling, said the Scion in an authoritative tone before going to hand over his son Gohan to Miku, who would have to let whatever needs to happen happen, since even if she wanted to intervene, she would not be a match for Mio. Are? Did you just call me scum? Who do you think you are to call me that, you piece of trash? Exclaimed Dryzel angrily, standing up. Goku approached until he was a meter away from him. I am a Scion raised on Earth, and also the one who experienced love thanks to the beautiful goddess of destruction, he replied angrily as well. Meanwhile, upon hearing Goku's words, Mio couldn't help but blush, causing her anger to start decreasing. That weakling could never be a goddess, exclaimed Dryzel, but he immediately flew out, destroying the wall due to a punch received on the nose from Goku. I will take care of that wretch, my love, he exclaimed, the Scion with an authoritative tone and a serious face. Before going out in search of Dryzel, Mio settled on a sofa that was in the room. On no doubt, only my Goku can make me feel this way, she whispered before smiling like a lovesick fool, and hugging her daughter very affectionately. Instead, Miku approached the hole in the wall through which the Silent King had flown out. I'm curious how strong your father is, little one, she whispered before playing with little Gohan's nose, and then looking at the skies. In the sky of planet Sadala, there were two Scions, one of them staring intently at the other, who was wiping the blood from his mouth. Haha, I barely felt ticklish, he commented to Goku, who was irritated for having been disrespected by him and his beloved Mio. Well, I guess I'll have to give you a lesson, he concluded, getting into a fighting stance. Even though he was angry, Goku was calm to a certain extent and, thanks to his nature, he didn't attack since his opponent was not in position. Come on, I'll be waiting for you here, he replied to King Dryzel, giving him a small challenging smile, as well as a gesture with his hand to attack him, which worked since that gesture annoyed him, and he launched into the attack with a powerful punch that Goku easily stopped. How predictable, Goku commented, looking at him with disappointment. But his opponent started laughing at the comment. Haha, of course, he finished by creating a key ball with a hand that the Scion from Universe 7 had trapped, and it exploded, causing both to be hurled in different directions. Aewaga! It was Goku's scream across the skies of Sadala, until he managed to recover just before receiving a punch that was going straight to his face. Purely by instinct, he dodged it by spinning halfway around and counterattacking with a kick that caught the king off guard and sent him a meter above the enormous sky. Miku watched the fight intently, which left her impressed by Goku's technique in combat. Interesting, the pink-haired girl heard the goddess of destruction say that she had stood next to her without realizing it, while looking up at the skies with a serious expression. Dryzel recovered from the kick and looked at the Scion with hatred, who was several meters away. Enough games. Alagagahe. He finished with a heartbreaking scream, considerably increasing his ki. But what was surprising was that his muscles also increased significantly, and his eyes slightly changed to a golden color. Goku, upon seeing this change, smiled quietly. I think he got angry, he whispered before becoming serious and clenching his fists. I will do it too. Awawawag. He started screaming as well, while a white-colored aura appeared surrounding him, his power increasing little by little in a significant way. At the end, they clashed eyes, and in the blink of an eye, they launched at each other, colliding their right fists and creating a great shockwave. But they did not stop there. They continued exchanging blows, which Goku dodged all with considerable difficulty, while Dryzel blocked most of them, and received a few hits. Despite having closed the power gap between the two, you could still see the slight advantage that the Scion had. Tata-tata-tata, these were the shouts that Goku made when he was throwing his punches at great speed, until in a moment of carelessness by the king, who after throwing a kick that was blocked, ended up receiving a punch in the solar plexus that made him spit out a large amount of saliva, and finishing with a kick to the ribs that sent him flying towards the ground at high speed, creating a large crater upon impact. The loud crash caught the attention of several Scions and the guards as well, who began to wonder what was happening. But it was Miku who noticed this and approached to calm them down, saying that it was a training session, and everyone believed the pink-haired girl since she was the right hand of the goddess of everything, Diana. While she calmed the concerns of the other Scions, Mio was seriously watching the fight. I see why you are the king, mother. Could it have something to do with you? The blonde-haired girl wondered upon noticing that Dryzel's ki kept increasing. In the fight, Goku was gradually descending toward the direction of the crater where his opponent had fallen. He decided to proceed carefully since the curtain of dirt that had risen prevented him from seeing, although he didn't care much, as he could sense the enemy's ki and could even fight with his eyes closed thanks to that. But due to his training with Whis, he learned to be more cautious. A huge scream of rage was heard, and an energy attack came out from the curtain of dirt, which Goku narrowly dodged as it was moving at an enormous speed. I have you vermin, Goku heard as if it were a whisper. With fear, he turned his head to just meet Dryzel's hand, which grabbed him by the hair and pushed him towards his knee. But luckily our hero reacted in time and blocked the blow with both arms. He became stronger, thought to Goku, while blocking the knees of his opponent, who gave him no rest, in which each punch was stronger than the other. What happens? I'm getting bored. I'd better go have fun with that bitch over there, Dryzel said, referring to Mio, and threw Goku into the air, followed by several energy attacks that caused a big explosion. Weakling, he ended up turning around. No one touches my Mio. Dryzel heard. It was Goku's voice coming out of the smoke full of anger, and then he was enveloped in a golden aura, undergoing a transformation. What the hell just happened? Explained Dryzel upon seeing the significant change in his opponent, not only visually, but also in power, a quite exaggerated power that unconsciously began to intimidate him. Minutes earlier, damn! Did he just call me a whore? He stammered from the enormous rage running through his divine blood. A purple aura began to surround him. Calm down, Mio. Don't go erasing this planet by accident, he told himself several times with his eyes closed. Nobody touches my Mio. She heard, opening her eyes, and seeing Goku full of rage transforming into a Super Saiyan. Kaya! The goddess of destruction screamed internally, while her eyes seemed like hearts, looking at her beloved, and her face was red. Oh Goku, give me pregnant again, she whispered while bringing her hands together and holding them to her chest. In the fight, Goku launched himself at Dryzel, hitting him with a punch in the cheek and carrying several meters with his fist on the opponent's face, who remained stunned. Then he gave him a kick, sending him to the top of the sky, and then bringing his two hands together and moving them to one side. Kawiami. Dryzel was beginning to recover from the kick he heard, and he turned his gaze to Goku, who was preparing a technique to blast him. That bastard will kill me, he shouted in fear. Hi! Shouted the Scion, launching his technique at him. This is for disrespecting my goddess. This is my ultimate power, shouted Goku, putting all his power into the technique, which grew enormously. I guess it's over, Dryzel whispered resignedly. The bruises and blood on his face reflected the difference that had existed between them through almost the entire fight except for a few minutes. Aegregor, Dryzel screamed in pain at the moment he received Goku's Kamehameha, and then fell to the ground like a bullet with his clothes torn, and with quite serious injuries, being incapacitated. Goku approached where the Saiyan King had fallen. Son of a bitch, you're still alive, he whispered, surprised after seeing that he was barely breathing. I guess you learned your lesson, thought the Saiyan, before picking up Dryzel and taking him to the palace to be treated. Universe 7. In a laboratory there was a person who looked like an old man and had white hair, sitting and reading one of 7 documents which had the title Project 16, Project 17, Project 18, Project 19, Project 20, Project Cell. Doctor, we already have the sample you collected from that strange ship that arrived a few weeks ago, said a woman with brown hair and light blue eyes as she entered the laboratory. Excellent, now we can carry out the projects. Let's get started, replied the old man, standing up, leaving the document he was reading on the desk, and then leaving the laboratory to go to the next one. The brunette with a little curiosity approached to see what the scientist was reading before leaving and read the titles, although she was more attracted to the last of them, which the old man had just read, which was titled Project 21. The fight had ended with a clear defeat of King Dryzel, whom Son Goku carried to where Mio was along with the pink-haired girl, and threw the Scion on the ground. Miku, do you have healing powers to take care of him? Asked the Scion from Universe 7 with a serious face, to which the pink-haired girl nodded and began to heal Dryzel's wounds. On the other hand, the goddess of destruction went to embrace her partner at that moment. When you shouted, "Nobody touches my Mio," I felt so protected by you. Darling, the white-haired goddess with a slight red tint on her cheeks told him, while burying her face in the Scion's chest, who hadn't even sweated from the fight. Hee, it's just that guy made me angry, and I didn't control my power out of anger, and almost ended up killing him, the Scion replied to his partner before letting out a short sigh. It wasn't my intention for all this to happen, so I apologize for what happened. Miku apologized as she finished healing Dryzel, who was still unconscious. At the apology of the hairy girl, Goku raised a hand as a sign that there was no problem, since he knew that she had no bad intentions. It was back then that a portal appeared in their midst. Era, I go for a few hours, and they make a whole scene, said Diana, leaving the building with one hand on her forehead while shaking her head. The three were surprised by the presence of the goddess. Mom, I whispered a little embarrassedly. Diana-sama, exclaimed Goku and Miku. The goddess approached Dryzel, who was on the unconscious floor. Wake up, she said in an authoritative tone that sent chills through those present, even the Saiyajin king, who immediately opened his eyes. Diana-sama, he exclaimed upon seeing the white-haired woman there with an intimidating aura, and slowly began to stand up. But suddenly the goddess herself grabbed him by the neck and pinned him against the wall. Who do you think you are to insult my daughter, you disgusting ape-piece? I angrily complained to him, holding back a lot so as not to break his neck. At that moment Dryzel, feeling the real terror, nervously turned his gaze towards Mio, his daughter. He thought to himself. 3 seconds later the leader of the royal guard stopped squeezing his neck and went to his family. Next time, the Scions will be exterminated. Diana finished with a cold before creating a portal. Miku called his subordinate in an authoritarian manner. Hi, Diana-sama? She asked a little shyly. Let's go, he finished, crossing the portal, after which Goku along with Neo were next, along with their children, and finally the pink-haired woman was the last to cross before the portal closed, leaving a very shocked Dryzel. TSK. What was that transformation? He kept thinking about the Scion from Universe 7. 1 week later, after several days since what happened in Sadala, Miku returned to the Guardians' headquarters because there was a disturbance in space-time in Universe 8. So together with the others, they went to investigate. Meanwhile, Goku, Mio, Diana, and their grandchildren spent this week like a normal family, something that the two goddesses really needed more than anything. Even the Scion relaxed and only trained in the morning, practicing his control over Divine Ki, while the rest of the day he spent with his family, during which he began to learn more about Mio's past and also Diana's. At that moment, it was 5 in the afternoon. The family had agreed to go have a snack at a cafe which the eldest goddess attended during her stay on Earth, and as expected, the city of Tokyo was crowded with people, mostly young people coming out of high school. Wouldn't it have been better to stay at home? Asked Mio, who was carrying Mio, and went with some doubt seeing all the people on the streets. Fufufu, of course not. You have to go out once in a while, dear Diana replied with a small mischievous smile. While Goku had no opinion, since he was going to end up eating something anyway. After walking a few more blocks, they arrived at a cafe where it could be seen that there were many people inside. Without further ado, they went in and sat at one of the free tables. It didn't take long before a girl came over to take their order. Good afternoon, Miss Diana. It's been a while since you last came, greeted a girl of about 30 years old, with blonde hair and blue eyes. I'm sorry, I was working outside, you know. How have you been, Gabriel? By the way, hasn't Toka arrived yet? She asked him while reading the notebook. Meanwhile, Goku didn't know what to choose. He was looking at the images of what he could pick and couldn't decide, even drooling a bit over the delights he saw while Mio glanced at the girl, who came to take the order out of the corner of her eye. Toka-chan hasn't come back from high school yet. She will be very happy to see you, Gabriel replied cheerfully, which made the older white-haired girl smile. Cough cough, the youngest of the goddesses simulated coughing. I would like to order a cappuccino and a slice of chocolate cake, please, Mio asked seriously, while closing the menu and then placing it on the table. The blonde directed her gaze to the younger one, giving her a small smile. As you wish, miss, she finished by noting down what she had ordered. I will order the usual, Diana commented, closing the menu and directing her gaze at the scion. Goku, try to order moderately, so you don't give the girls too much work. Okay? She kindly asked, to which the dark-haired man nodded and closed his eyes. I want one of this, and of this, he pointed with his eyes closed since he couldn't decide, leaving it to chance. So, a fruit smoothie with a portion of cheesecake for Miss Diana, a cappuccino, and a portion of chocolate cake for the young lady, and for the gentleman a portion of apple pie, a coffee frappe, and some biscuits. I finished reviewing the customer's order, to which they nodded. I will bring your order in a moment, I concluded with a small smile before leaving. Universe 7. A long day of training had passed. The Z warriors had already gone to their homes, and the only one left training was Vegeta, who was doing push-ups using only one finger and a strange suit with increased gravity. Tell me, Vegeta, why do you seek more power? The angel asked the Scion Prince, who was sweating buckets. No, I won't allow cockroach, insect to be above me, he replied with difficulty, while continuing to do push-ups with one finger. Ho ho ho. I see, you must have a certain rivalry with Mr. Goku. Keep going and you're on the right track, the angel concluded, turning around to leave since the Scion had 500 more push-ups to go. But he would know he would finish them upon feeling the determination in his words to surpass Goku. Somewhere in the universe, more precisely on a spaceship, a soldier rushes into the chamber of his leader. Mr. Cooler. Mr. Cooler. We have lost contact with your father and your brother, he exclaimed to the demon of cold, who was looking out the window of the ship. They were going to go to planet Earth to get revenge on the Super Saiyan, right? He asked his subordinate calmly. Why, yes. In fact, the last signal we had from them was from that planet. Could it be that they were defeated? He asked this last part with doubt. Ha ha ha. Who knows? My father and my brother are arrogant and don't use all their power from the beginning in a fight. Well, go inform them to change course to planet Earth. Ho ho ho, he exclaimed, turning around as a smile began to form on his face. As you command, Mr. Cooler, the subordinate concluded, bowing before leaving. Ewa, how delicious it was, exclaimed Goku, placing a small plate on the table. The truth is that you were right, mother. These desserts are the best I have ever tried, also added the goddess of destruction of Universe 7, performing the same action as her partner. Diana smiled at the comments from both of them, since she knew they would like it from the beginning. Although being in that place, and having bonded with some people for a couple of years sometimes made her wish she could be a simple human again, and live a normal life. But with so many problems in the multiverse, the issue with Mirai, and on top of that the imminent return of the demon goddess, she knew that dream was far out of her reach. And that girl hasn't arrived yet. Could it be that she did poorly on the exam? She sighed in defeat. Kofja might pretend to touch Mio. Getting serious with that girl, are you referring to that so-called Toka? Who is she? I asked in a not very friendly tone. Heh, don't talk like that. 5 years ago, I met her by chance. I saw her on the street in torn clothes, and seeing her little hopeless face, I went up to talk to her. And there she told me that her family died in an accident, and no one wanted to take care of her. So she ended up on the streets. So you could say I gave her a hand. Could I say I adopted her? Fluff, she finished, laughing. Qui? Mio exclaimed with a small red tint because of the jealousy she was feeling at that moment. It was a mother-daughter issue, and Goku knew it, so he began to play with his children by gesturing. Era, what has that reaction been? You know that you will always be my beautiful baby, Diana commented in a childish tone, making her daughter blush more. It's not like I care what you do with that Toka girl, he exclaimed, crossing his arms and pouting, which made his mother burst out laughing. Ha ha ha, and now what was that? She explained while wiping away the tears that came from laughing so much. Calm down. Everything will be fine now. Because I am here, she said the last part while holding her daughter's chin, and then giving her a motherly smile, making the little one relax. After 3 minutes, the family got ready to leave. Not without paying first. Goku decided to take Mio, while Diana wanted to take little Gohan. So Mio opened the door, and was the first to go out, but ended up bumping into someone, and they fell to the ground. I'm sorry, apologized a girl with purple hair and purple eyes, who was wearing a high school uniform. Mio was the first to stand up. Don't worry. It was partly my fault, he replied, smiling sheepishly, and then helped her to stand up. Thank you very much, the girl with dyed hair thanked him, before cleaning her skirt and then looked up, her eyes widening when she saw the older one with white hair. Oh, Kasama! She exclaimed joyfully, crying with happiness as she approached Mio's mother. It's been a while, Toka-chan, she commented, and with her free arm hugged her, not without first giving her a kiss on the forehead, since the brunette buried her face in her chest, right next to where little Gohan was. So she's Toka, Goku commented before looking at his partner, and seeing that he was fuming and clenching his teeth. I'd better shut up, he thought, for his own good. Come home with us. I have a few days off, I comment to the violet-eyed woman from whom I separate the hug. Hi. Oh, Kasama, she exclaimed happily, and directed her gaze curiously toward the baby she was holding it to. She said, while playing with her fingers, somewhat nervously, Fufufu Toka-chan, let me introduce you to my grandchildren. This adorable baby I am holding is little Gohan. The cutie of the baby is Mio, and she is being held by her father. Goku the goddess was saying, hello. Nice to meet you, greeted the scion kindly. And finally my daughter? Mio finished Diana with a small smile. Daughter, could you say hello please? She asked without wiping her smile, but with a tone that made even the goddess of destruction tremble inside. You and Gugusto, Toka greeted the goddess, extending her hand with a swollen vein on her forehead due to the jealousy she felt. If something she did not like, it was to share her mother, and obviously less her partner. The taste is all mine, Mione-sama. I greet her happily, giving her a hug to everyone's surprise. Era, I wasn't expecting something like this, thought Diana, smiling mischievously. Well, let's go home to prepare dinner, she explained, starting to walk, and everyone followed her where, during the whole way, Toka spent the time talking with Goku, and sometimes Mio interrupted out of jealousy. It's not yet time to reveal Toka-chan's secret.